Have you ever walked out of a therapy session and you felt worse than when you went in for the first time? My friend, this happens. In fact, studies tell us that 25% of first-time visitors to therapy don't return because they didn't feel like it was a good match with that therapist. And listen, as a mental health advocate who's been going to therapy for over 10 years for a modality of different reasons, I'm here to tell you that creating a beautiful alliance with you and your therapist is absolutely crucial. I've had a mental health professional on speed dial for a long time, and it has blessed my career and my family and my life in ways that you can't even measure. You know, according to neuroscience, there's something called the therapeutic alliance, which is your connection with your therapist. And studies also help us understand that therapeutic alliance attributes to 30% of the effect of therapy. In other words, your therapy will be 30% more effective if you have a good therapeutic alliance with your mental health professional, which builds and creates bonds of trust and allows your brain to feel safe, psychologically safe, and emotionally safe in the interaction. So let me give you 5 dope things that you can do to pick an awesome therapist your first time out, so that way you can get on the journey of healing, get on the journey of taking your life to the next level, get on the journey of taking your business to the next level, get on the journey of taking your family to the next level. Because when I tell you, you can use mental health and therapy for a modality of different reasons. I've used therapy when I've left one church and started going to another, right? I went through a healing journey, and so I went to a mental health professional about that. I remember when the first time I was considering becoming a stepdad. That was a role I never had before. So I went to a therapist to talk about that. I remember when I was moving after my mom passed away 12 years ago. So I went to a mental health professional about moving to a different state. I also went to a mental health professional to talk through the grief and the loss of my mother. At the time of this broadcast, my father's been in the hospital for over 2 years. And so I've gone to a mental health professional to talk through the it's called helper's fatigue, right? When your nervous system is on a heightened sense of fear and concern over the care of a loved one who's struggling. Does that make sense? So you want to make sure that you have a strong mental health professional who can help coach you through, inspire you through, challenge you through, and encourage you through some of the challenging times that we experience in life and in business. Does that make sense? So let me give you 5 really cool ways to pick a dope therapist, all right? Hashtag dope therapist. Number 1, I want you to think episodes and not movies. You're like, Dr. Delatorro, what the heck do you mean when you think about therapy? I want you to think about episodes and not movies. A lot of people say, okay, hey, I'm gonna go to therapy and I'm gonna go to 1 or 2 sessions. And they're looking at therapy as a movie, like it's just one long 2-hour movie. But I want you to look at therapy and going to a mental health professional as episodic television, where there's like 9 episodes, 10 episodes. See, when you go to therapy, you want to go for multiple sessions because the benefits of therapy build over time. And the more you build your connection and your relationship with your therapist, A, and B, the more you start going through therapy and seeing the benefits of therapy, the more topics you're going to want to bring up in therapy, and the more the healing, the growth, the transformation can take place. So my first tip to you is, when you're looking for a therapist, look for someone you can use long-term, not just someone that you can use hit it and quit it, one and done. Does that make sense? You want to think episodes and not a movie. That's number 1. Number 2, I want you to get a referral from someone that you trust. See, again, we're talking therapy, mental health. So if you already know that there's somebody in your life, family, friend, coworker, colleague, who has good mental health, and you know that they go to therapy, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, can you refer me to a good mental health professional that you've had a good experience from, right? Because here's the truth, excellence, Bishop T.D. Jakes taught me this, excellence cannot be hidden. If you're a great mental health professional, guess what? People are gonna talk about you to other people. So one of the things that I've done over the years is I've gotten referrals from other friends of mine who I respected their mental and emotional state. And I said, man, who's your therapist? And they've given me great referrals. So that's one thing that you can do, is ask someone who you already respect and appreciate their mental and emotional wherewithal, and ask where they go to get counseling and therapy and support. Another thing you can do under this same point, number 2, if you don't have a referral, as you're looking online, whether it's Psychology Today or BetterHelp.com or some of these other platforms where you can find a therapist in your city simply by typing in your zip code or your area code and things of that nature. Do a little research, do a little digging, right? Figure out if this particular therapist or this mental health professional has a YouTube channel. Watch some of their content. Maybe they've got an Instagram or a TikTok page. Check out some of their reels. See if they've been on television before. Watch some of their appearances on television and see if you resonate. If you resonate with what it is that they do and how it is that they teach, how they do therapy, their map of the world, where they come from, their background, their experience, and if it models and matches what it is that you're looking for, boom, that could be a great sign. The third thing I want you to do is I want you to research the therapist based upon your specific needs and your specific specializations, as well as the modalities of the different ways that they do therapy. For example, there's different modalities to therapy. There's CBT, there's EMDR, right? There's Gestalt therapy, right? There's talk therapy, right? So there's all different types of therapy that's out there, right? There's rapid eye movement therapy, right? There's so many different types of therapy and healing modalities. There's sound bowl healing therapies, right? There's all kinds of things that are out there. So there's different modalities. So you want to find out what type of healing modality that you want, and you want to make sure that your therapist specializes in that modality. On top of that, this is under number 3, you also want to make sure that you're getting a therapist that's in alignment and has a background and specialization in the very thing that you need. In other words, if you're struggling with PTSD, you don't just want to go to a therapist who specializes in working with teens. Does that make sense? Right? If you're parenting a teenager and you have a therapist who specializes in teens, then boom, you got a winner. Does that make sense? Or if you've been through a divorce, right? You want to make sure that you're dealing with a mental health professional who has experience coaching and encouraging and supporting people through the loss of a romantic relationship, i.e. a divorce, right? Does that make sense? Maybe you've gone through the grief or the loss of a loved one. So you want a therapist who specializes in grief and has certain modalities that they use and certifications and skill sets and tools to help you through that. Does that make sense? So what's going to help you land on an awesome therapist is you being clear about what modality of therapy you enjoy, and then what specialization the therapist needs to best address the challenges that you have. Does that make sense, family? So if you've gone through a divorce, find a therapist who specializes in divorce recovery. If you're dealing with an addiction, right? No judgment. Find a therapist who helps with that type of an addiction. Does that make sense? So like attracts like. So really align those hush puppies and you'll find someone that's awesome. Now, once you pick a therapist and you have that first session, let's go to step number 4. Let's evaluate for chemistry. When you do that first session, I'm gonna give you a pro tip. Your first session with your therapist, in my humble opinion, should not be an hour. I think your first session with a therapist really needs to be 90 minutes. And this is a Dr. Delatorro special. I've never read this in a book, but this is what I do. Here's the reason why. When I'm meeting a therapist for the first time, I'm trying to build rapport. I'm trying to feel them out. They're trying to feel me out. So I don't want like 45 minutes to go away and then next thing you know, I gotta kind of wrap things up because the hour's gone. You want time to unpack the various things you got going on, and that therapist might say, listen, I think based upon all these things we've identified in these 90 minutes, we're probably gonna need 10 sessions. We're probably gonna need 8 sessions. We're probably gonna need 4 sessions. Or we're probably gonna need 4 sessions on this topic and 4 sessions on that topic. Does that make sense? So they can better assist you and diagnose how many sessions they think it's gonna take for you to get better, right? Once they have a better understanding. But I think a longer first session is really gonna help you with that. But I want you to really evaluate their chemistry. In other words, can you receive from this therapist? Can they call you on your stuff and you receive from them? Because there's certain people that we just struggle receiving from. Does that make sense? But you wanna make sure you can receive critique, receive coaching, receive some criticism, some harsh, tough words. Can you receive from this person without being offended, without taking offense to what they say, without storming out the room? Right? You want to evaluate for chemistry. Do you like how they engage? Do you like how they schedule? Do you like how they run their sessions? Do you like the environment that you're in? All these things are super important, right? Do you feel safe in this environment? These are all things that are important, right? Is it virtual or is it in person? These are all logistics that you want to consider when developing a relationship with a mental health professional. And if I can give you a gangster fifth bonus, ching ching, right? This is gonna help not only put money in your pocket, but it's gonna help you maximize the money you're investing in therapy therapy and in mental health. And that is this: make sure that you prepare for your therapy sessions and make sure that you ask for homework. Let's go. I want you to come to your sessions prepared, and I want you to ask for homework. Those are two separate things. First and foremost, when you get ready to go into your therapy session, I want you to go into your session already having a list of questions of things that you want to go over, or topics that you want to address, or maybe things that you've seen on social media that have triggered you during the week. And so now when it's time to sit down for your session, let's say your session's on Thursday. Let's say you've seen 3 or 4 different things on Instagram that really kind of triggered you because they were talking about abandonment issues after a breakup, let's just say. And so you might want to save those three reels that you saw that triggered you because of some of your abandonment issues and bring that up in therapy. So come prepared to talk through, these are the things that I'm struggling in. These are the areas where I'm stuck. These are the areas where I need a little help. These are the areas where I need a little support. Does that make sense? Jot those things down so that you can go into your session empowered, and you give structure to the session, right? When you go in there with a list of questions. And if you want to email those questions to your therapist ahead of time, that's great. But most mental health professionals would welcome and appreciate you coming to the session prepared, so they're not having to pull stuff out of you. You've already taken the time to excavate what's inside you. Now it's just a process of them organizing it for you, helping you make sense of it. And then part 2, making sure you have homework. This is so huge. So most therapy sessions are an hour. Here's what I want to encourage you to do. I want you to sit down with your therapist and say, listen, my mentor, my coach, Dr. Delatorro told me, come on somebody, to end my sessions a little bit earlier. So I want you to end at the 45 or 50 minute mark of the talking, the back and forth dialogue between you and your therapist. And then I want you to take the last 10 or 15 minutes and have your therapist give you homework, things that you can work on between now and the next session, whether it's the next week or the next day or the next month, depending upon how frequently you're going. But you want homework between sessions because that's going to keep your brain active. It's going to keep your emotions engaged, and it's going to keep you feeling a sense of momentum in your healing journey, in your therapy journey, in your wellness journey. Does that make sense? So ask for homework, ask for articles that you can read, ask for any YouTube clips of popular therapists or popular healing modalities that your therapist has seen that's worked well. Ask for book recommendations. Say, hey, based upon everything we talked about in our first 90 minutes, in our first session, is there a book that you think will help guide me through and support me while we have our various sessions, and be a support for me in between sessions? This is what I mean by taking a proactive role in your mental health. And I'm telling you, you will be a better CEO, you will be a better parent, you will be a better leader, you will be a better entrepreneur, you will be a better significant other, boo, or it's complicated, right? You will be a better human being when you have good mental health. And good mental health is not an accident. It takes intentionality, and it takes going to a qualified, trained professional who's gifted at helping extract the best mental health out of you that could possibly exist. Do me a favor, my friend. Fire off in the comments below and let me know what strategies you've used to find the mental health professional that you resonate with, and which one of these principles that I've shared with you today is really going to help you find your incredible, dope therapist to help you on life's journey, your healing journey, or whatever journey you find yourself on. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. Can't wait to see you in the next video. Rock out.